wants to ensure witness statements are untainted so they can get to the truth. A fallen Valley traffic officer is commemorated at his division. Rasha Goel has more on how a memorial will serve as a reminder of the difference he made in the community.
In April of this year, 51-year-old LAPD officer Christopher Cortijo, who was on his motorcycle, died from injuries after he was struck by an SUV driven by an allegedly drug-impaired driver in Sun Valley. He was on duty at the time. Cortijo, who worked at Valley Traffic Division, had twice been named Officer of the Year and had arrested more than 3,000 DUI suspects during his career. The LAPD and city leaders recently honored Cortijo in a unique way by dedicating a small library in his name.
We just opened a new little free library so that the young people of this community can come in here, get a book, feel comfortable and safe in Valley Traffic Division here.
The LAPD has been opening several little free libraries inside police stations where children can stop by and pick up a book or bring back another book to share. But the library wasn't the only way the fallen officer was remembered.
Now we're down in our roll call room where the division has put a memorial to him with a motorcycle that was built to be exactly like his motorcycle.
Officer Cortijo's wife says the memorial will keep her husband's spirit alive, but she also has a message she wants to share.
People should be more cautious when they drink and drive, because innocent people die, and it leaves a lot of emptiness.
Officer Cortijo's memorial may not be able to fill the void he left behind, but it will serve as a reminder of how one man truly lived and died to serve his community. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
City leaders also introduced a motion to name the intersection of Van Nuys Boulevard and Arminta Street as Officer Chris Cortijo Square. And Officer Cortijo's death serves to highlight the dangers that face public safety personnel daily. Anna Marcos takes us to the annual E-Awards for Excellence in Public Safety luncheon, where many were recognized for their service.
It's a lot of brass in one room as LAPD officers and LA firefighters get together for the annual E-Awards for Excellence in Public Safety.
Most importantly, we're recognizing our superheroes in law enforcement, those that have gone over and above the call of duty.
I also appreciate my employees. I know how hard they work. I know how tough their jobs are. And I think it's important that they see me as somebody that supports them also.
These are not guys and women prone to tooting their own horns. They like to say they were doing their duty. In one case, a shooter ambushed Valley officers. Luckily, the officer shot survived and is okay, and the shooter got caught.
I knew it was over my head. I needed the help of other officers. I called them, and one of the officers that came there for me ends up getting shot. So, I kind of feel bad.
One firefighter somehow found a woman's home that had burst into flames, and he did it without an address.
She actually didn't know her address, and it was just kind of by chance that I heard something in the background on the dispatch that clued me into where she was, and we were able to find her in time.
Don't be fooled by this cop's gentle demeanor. She works hard to put really bad guys away.
I have been very successful and instrumental in some prosecutions and deportations of several registered sex offenders that have plagued our city parks.
These E-Awards have a long tradition that started with former council members Hal Burnson and Greg Smith. Ex-council member Dennis Zine then started the similar Z Awards, and the two events have now been combined.
We used to have the E Awards and the Z Awards, and now we have just one big E Award, one big excellent, yeah.
It may be a fun event, but the reminders that public safety is a dangerous job are never far away. This year, the LAPD has lost 8 officers, 3 of them on the job. Awards like this are very much deserved. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Some of the LAPD's up-and-coming cadets also received recognition and scholarships for their work volunteering in the community. Another aging downtown building has been brought back to life. This time it's the historic Broadway Arts Tower. Anita Bennett takes us inside for a tour.
What was once a department store built in 1928 is now a commercial office space in downtown Los Angeles. The newly restored building, known as the Broadway Arts Tower, just underwent a $2 million upgrade, yet it still maintains much of its original charm.
The only things that we really added were internet, AC, a new elevator, and very basic things that you have to have nowadays.
The 6-year development project was part of Council District 14's Bring Back Broadway initiative.
Being at 5th and Broadway, I am very excited about because as we watch things pop up along Broadway, we get the connector points, and it will absolutely be great when we're full and that energy can spread out and the other streets can work towards us.
During the restoration, the original hardwood floors, grand staircase, and brass handrails were all left intact. But there is one big change. The rear windows were turned into a mural.
The back of the building reminded me of the building within the old movie Rear Window. So I chose to use those images from that film to replace the missing windows.
Now the developer is counting on that artwork and other modern touches to draw new tenants to this building, which sat vacant for several decades. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The Broadway Arts Tower is the first large commercial office building to open on South Broadway since the Great Depression in the 1930s. Native Americans have a lot to celebrate during American Indian Heritage Month. The city's festivities got underway recently at City Hall. Yana Kay takes us there.
This traditional Native American tribal dance represents family strength and unity and helped kick off American Indian Heritage Month at City Hall. Participants say the event gives them a chance to show their appreciation to their loved ones.
I have family that takes care of me, and I love my family and friends because they're like older brothers and sisters to me.
Native American Heritage Month also recognizes many of the contributions Native American tribes had on Los Angeles, dating back to the 1700s. Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, who was sworn into the Wyandotte Nation by the tribe's chief, Billy Friend, last June, said events like these help remind Angelenos of all the sacrifices made by Native Americans.
I think as we mature, we recognize and value more and more our own heritage, the sacrifices that our ancestors made, and that fortifies us and makes us realize that the very DNA that we are made from is made stronger by those that came before us.
Earlier in the day, inside council chambers, O'Farrell recognized the Torres Martinez Desert Cahuilla Indians for all the work they do on behalf of Native Americans.
Thanks to your organizations in your city and in your county, they've made it a success for us.
And the hope is these kinds of celebrations will keep history alive for future generations. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Native American Heritage Month was coordinated by Councilmember O'Farrell and the Native American Indian Commission. A new mural is helping bring character and life to a street that's been a vital part of the Northridge community. Rasha Goel has more on how this mural is reviving the past but setting a new vibe for the future.
For the Northridge community, this new mural is more than just artwork on a wall.
Not only is it the first mural that's going to be part of the history walk of Northridge, but it's a sense of the community coming together.
Northridge Sparkling Campaign, a beautification organization, and the Museum of the San Fernando Valley brought on artist Tim Cornelius to create the mural.
Because my dad's a fine artist and he loves to paint trains and depots, I thought I would do this as an homage to him.
The mural, known as Zelsa Train Depot, is painted on the side of a CD store on the corner of Reseda Boulevard and Rayan Street. It's the first of 11 historically themed pieces of art envisioned for Northridge's Reseda Boulevard, part of a plan to revitalize the city's main business corridor.
You're all looking for a change to take this community, to take the Reseda, the corridor, the gateway to Northridge, and create what you're starting to see today. And there's a vision and there's a future.
It reminds me of the past and
I have fond memories of the past. My dad grew up in the valley and all that, and it's just lovely.
Reseda Boulevard from Parthenia to Plummer is also one of 15 local neighborhoods recently designated by Mayor Eric Garcetti for his Great Streets initiative, which aims to turn this corridor into a more business and pedestrian-friendly district. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
And a lot more is happening in the valley to improve quality of life. A major thoroughfare there just got a street lift as city officials make it more pleasant for drivers to get around. Yana Kay has more.
Driving north and southbound on Van Nuys Boulevard between Magnolia Avenue and Ventura Boulevard just got a little more enjoyable thanks to a Los Angeles City repaving project.
You don't hit the potholes, you don't hit the ruts in the street.
Crews resurfaced 1.3 miles of street on the heavily traveled stretch of the boulevard and did it in just 2 days by using 2 paving machines at the same time. And for local drivers, it didn't seem to be too much of an inconvenience.
Most of the streets have been paved, and there's no problem. So for a day or two, you take Hazeltine or some other street and get around, This is no big deal.
In addition to the repaving, upgrades include new lane stripping, repainted curbs, and sidewalk cleanup.
Our approach right now is to save streets while they are in somehow a fair condition. If we decided to wait, let's say 2 more years or 3 more years, this $600,000 project would become a $2.5 million project.
City officials say they were able to save about 25% on the entire cost of the project. That's because crews were able to reuse and recycle most of the asphalt. Ramps to and from the 101 freeway to Van Nuys were also shut down, allowing Caltrans the opportunity to conduct routine maintenance on the exit ramps. A brief pause in traffic for a smooth ride for years to come. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
It's been 16 years since Van Nuys Boulevard was last resurfaced. With California facing the worst drought on record, many folks are stepping up and doing what they can to save water. As Yana Kay reports, some community members are leading by example.
The Los Angeles Police Department's Topanga Station in the San Fernando Valley welcomes visitors with a tranquil and peaceful setting, complete with drought-tolerant vegetation and California native plants. It's all thanks to LAPD's Topanga Restoring Its Urban Ecosystem, or TRUE, Community Landscape Project, an ongoing effort to transform the station's landscape into a sustainable and drought-tolerant garden.
This has been done pretty much entirely with donated funds and volunteer labor.
And for all their efforts, community members and volunteers were recognized recently during a Community Choice Awards luncheon in Woodland Hills.
They do so much in the community on so many levels, not only keeping us safe, but this environmental stewardship through the TRUE program has been just fantastic. So, Officer Rodriguez, thank you so much.
Because of the drought and severe heat, the station's previous landscaping dried out and died. So in 2011, the station partnered with community groups to install a drought-tolerant ecosystem.
We don't want someone to come into a building that looks like it's a vacant building because the weeds and everything is dead. We want to make sure that it's a beautiful, enjoyable location.
10 local business owners who have improved their properties were also honored at the event.
Anything that any of us can do to help with that water recycling and drought-resistant planting and all of that is going to be very helpful in our efforts.
Efforts that don't only make the community look more beautiful, but also help save precious water. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The TRUE project is currently seeking donations in order to install a new irrigation system. A night of compliments for South LA students inspire them to greater achievements in school and in life.
How do you feel? I feel great to be honored.
Fifth grader Mila Perkins receives a medal for a job well done. The most improved student of the year at Manchester Elementary School gets showered with compliments at a lavish awards dinner, where she and her family can bask in the spotlight.
Celebrate my little genius here and inspire her just to capture the world with her imagination and just the beauty within her. And I'm just really proud of her today.
Over 70 South LA students received the Star treatment at this year's State of the 8th Awards Gala. 8th District Councilman Bernard Parks, with his wife Bobby, explains.
What we give is an overview of our accomplishments, but we also honor many of our schools in the 8th District, many of the classes for the best grade point average in each class, and the most improved student.
This marks the final State of the Eighth event for Parks. As councilman, he'll be termed out of office in July. During his 10 years hosting the dinner, he's noticed that many of the most improved students go on to earn highest GPA awards in later years. He largely credits positive reinforcement from parents and from events like this.
I improved in my work and stuff, and I worked really hard.
I know my son works hard in school and, does his very best, so I really appreciate it, and I know he does too.
A handful of adults also received the red carpet treatment for helping the children improve their grades and succeed in school. Councilman Parks says he's touched when former awardees approach him as adults and tell him they're now in college and pursuing their dreams. City leaders raise awareness on Alzheimer's disease. The city's first non-residential roundabout could ease traffic flow at a busy intersection, and enrolling in an LADWP payment plan online. These stories in City Beat. The City Council recently helped bring public awareness to a disease plaguing 5 million Americans today, Alzheimer's.
There are over 15 million unpaid caregivers, and that equates to over 17.7 billion hours of care, to the tune of over $220 billion.
The hope is for awareness to result in funding for the treatment of and cure for the disease, but also for financial and emotional support for those who care for those with Alzheimer's. A roundabout is in the works for the community of Boyle Heights in Council District 14. The latest renderings were unveiled for the $4.3 million Cinco Puntos traffic circle to be constructed with the existing All Wars Memorial on East Cesar Chavez Avenue as its centerpiece. Cinco Puntos means 5 points in Spanish. While popular in Europe and on the East Coast, where they are also called rotaries, this roundabout is thought to be the first non-residential one here in Los Angeles. Instead of a traditional intersection, a roundabout requires motorists to slow down and merge into a circular traffic pattern, looping them around to their exit. Los Angeles Department of Water and Power customers now have the ability to enroll in payment plan options online at LADWP.com. LADWP's payment plan helps customers who may need a little more time to pay their utility bill. In the past, the only way to enroll in a payment plan was to call the LADWP Customer Contact Center and speak with a customer service representative. Now customers can visit LADWP.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to enroll. But LADWP customers must have an online account and meet eligibility requirements to enroll. You can find LA history in some unexpected places. Case in point, a fast food joint in Wilmington can now call itself a historical landmark. Wiener Schnitzel has been dishing out fast food in a hot dog bun to hungry customers for decades. And now the very first Wiener Schnitzel in the nation, located in Wilmington, is finally getting its due. The city of Los Angeles designated the fast food stand built at 900 West Pacific Coast Highway a historical landmark.
We're here to officially celebrate the first Wiener Schnitzel in the entire world here in Wilmington, California, and also recognize John Gallardi, who is the entrepreneur who came here in Wilmington in 1961 and decided to open the first hot dog stand.
John Gallardi was only 23 years old when he opened his first store not long after working at Taco Tia, a restaurant owned by Glenn Bell Jr., creator of the Taco Bell restaurant chain.
So John thought about it, and he thought, well, I can't do tacos. That would be competing with my friend, his best friend at the time, Glenn Bell. I don't want to compete with the McDonald brothers, so I'm going to do hot dogs.
There's stories for days about this place that I probably can't get into. Just kidding. 1961, it opened its doors, and, it set the precedent for the rest of the chain. And for it still to be standing today, and for the city of LA and Wilmington to honor it and classify it as a historical landmark, it's a huge deal, and we couldn't be more excited.
Bob Trujillo, who along with his real estate partner went into business with Gallardi and built this very first stand, as well as some 500 other Wiener Schnitzels.
We grew too fast, and we got in a lot of financial trouble. Couldn't pay the bills, and so we sent a letter out to 200 landlords and said, we're not paying any rent. If you have any questions, call. Well, they all called, and so it took us about 5 years to work it out. But then we put in a buy a Coke, keep the glass promotion, and it tripled our sales. It was 15 cents for the Coke glass. So we sold 15 million of those. And that's what saved our company.
One smart promotion and countless hot dogs. Now that's the stuff fast food legends are made of. This is the fourth historical designation in Wilmington, and this Wiener Schnitzel in Wilmington is only the second roadside food stand to receive such an honor from the city. A local recreation center receives a new gift, one that will hopefully inspire families to exercise and enjoy the outdoors. Rasha Goel has more.
Residents are celebrating the grand opening of the Fred Roberts Synthetic Soccer Field in South Los Angeles. The new field is a major renovation at the center.
You know, it covered an old dirt field that used to be here, and we made some improvements on the exterior, some benches there, a little exercise cycle. So it's a real family-friendly.
It looks totally different. It looks better.
The new synthetic field is the 28th field to be operated and maintained by the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks in an effort to provide better resources for the community.
By putting one field, it's like serving 3 additional soccer fields because it could be played on nonstop.
Amazing park like this will provide a lot of opportunities for youth soccer players out here to get out there and run around and work hard.
Aside from inspiration, officials say synthetic fields save roughly 1.8 million gallons of water per year. Perhaps that's a goal worth kicking for. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Other renovations at the Fred Roberts Park include new security lights, a walking path, and new fencing. In this week's list of things to do, the reindeer romp at the LA Zoo, a free family art workshop, and an exhibit called Hot House. There's no shortage of holiday things to do here in LA. For starters, the ever-popular reindeer have landed at the LA Zoo for the holidays. They will spend Christmas and New Year's here before flying off on January 4th. You can pay a visit anytime from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, except on Christmas Day when the zoo is closed. The LA Zoo is located at 5333 Zoo Drive. Go to lazoo.org for details. The Los Angeles Municipal Art Gallery holds free family art workshops every Sunday at the Barnsdall Art Park campus. The workshop on Sunday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to noon will touch on the gallery's current LA Islam exhibits. Families are invited to work with diverse materials to create vibrant artworks influenced by the traditional motifs and contemporary images from 2 exhibitions currently on display featuring Islamic art. All ages are welcome, all materials are provided. Barnsdall Art Park is located at 4800 Hollywood Boulevard. Go to barnsdall.org. Currently on display at the Watts Towers Arts Center is the exhibit Hot House, on display until January 11th. Artist Allison Sarr's Hot House addresses the tug of nature on our bodies and psyche. 2 sculpted pieces, Foizon and Fallow, 2 female figures, frame the scope of the work in the show. Foizon's abdomen reveals a flourishing scene, alive with moths, cocoons, and caterpillars. Fallow's abdomen, however, reveals a dark and somber scene of death and infertility. The Watts Towers Art Center is located at 1727 East 107th Street. For gallery hours, go to wattstowers.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Checking the ground for signs, trails of the game of the enemy. Looking to the horizons for dust clouds of the cavalry. Our warriors are prepared.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
Sergeants, please call the members. Good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, I believe at this time we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bona, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Correa, LaBonce, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Huizar moves and Mr. Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. LaBonge moves, O'Farrell seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, committee reports for items 5, 6, 15, and 16 have been circulated. Further, there is a request from member to continue item 16 to this Friday, December 5.
Okay, so without objection, that will be the order.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 4 are items noticed for public hearing. We do have a card in on item number 1.
So why don't we hold item number 1, members specials 1 through 4. I do not see any. Let's prepare to vote on those items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And, Mr. President, those ordinances will go over 1 week for a second read unless reconsidered later today for 12 members.
Well, I am optimistic that we will meet that mark sometimes today, Mr. Clerk. So when we do, remind me, and we'll reconsider those items. Let's go on to the next section of items.
Very good, sir. Items 5 through 17 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, members, Mr. O'Farrell.
Mr. President, calling item 17 special for parks, please.
Okay, item 17. Any other? Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. So, Madam Clerk, if you'd open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, forthwith on number 14, please.
Forthwith on number 15 per Mr. Labange. 14, I'm sorry, per Mr. Labange. Mr. Clerk.
Very good, sir. Items 18 through 32 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do we have cards?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on 18, 26, 27, 28, 31, and 32.
Okay, let's hold those items and let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And again, sir, the ordinance will go over 1 week unless reconsidered later.
Okay, let's go, members, to item number 1, called special by Mr. Herman and by Mr. Walsh. If you please come forward. Mr. Herman and Mr. Walsh on item 1. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Stay tuned for general public comment. This concerns maintenance of street lighting district. As you know, nothing annoys you more than when I compliment you. And I remember we had the carbon arc street lights. It was hell. It would take a week or two for the lights to be fixed. Where I live now, near Yucca and Argyle, since 1976, next to the DWP building where the homeless live, the last time the lights went out, which was about a year ago.
He is not talking about this item.
Get back on the subject.
About maintenance of the lighting. Keep your mouth shut, Mr.
No, just stay on the item, Mr. Walsh.
.org. You do a great job, except for the city attorney.
Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman.
Yes, sir. Greetings. I'm talking about the improvement.
Come on, Mr. Herman. I'm not going to listen to you talking like that.
In regards to the improvement of maintenance for lighting, it's usually and always and more so in the most affluent, nice areas of our towns. But in minority areas, and many of you know minorities, some of them look like me, or don't shoot. But on topic, Mr. City Attorney, I'm on topic. I'm going to hold my time to 1 minute and give you the remaining seconds. Dion.
All right, let's prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's go to item 18. We have a commission appointment. So I have cards on item 18. I have Mr. Walsh and I have Mr. Herman. Please come forward. Mr. Walsh, Mr. Herman.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is relative to the appointment of Ms. Melanie Abe to the Affordable Housing Commission. We see now that she will be the only woman on the, it's now on the Affordable Housing Commission, but again, we only have one up here out of 15. This is 1 out of 7. Well, we have checked, obviously, we checked for the record, but Ms. Abe has no kiddie porn on her record. As you know, you put someone up here who was
Let's stay on the
appointed.
subject.
The point is whether her qualifications, and one of her qualifications is she's not involved in kiddie porn. And
Stay
remember,
on the
she
subject, Mr. Walsh. I won't warn you again.
from the mayor's letter saying that she would resign. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Herman.
Are we not aware that Los Angeles has become the homeless capital of the world due to affordable housing that was promised by the commission, by the CRA, that in its demise did not provide adequate service using federal and state dollars to provide fellow American citizens an affordable home? But Ms. Melanie Abe, if I pronounce that right, if I pronounce that correctly, and if I made a mistake, I say to you, congratulations. And we did a background check. You're not like John Daisy. Or the fact of the matter, I'm on subject, is that congratulations, and be aware, the mayor has done nothing for affordable housing. And that's my last statement.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Labange, you're on the queue on this item.
I just wanted to say Ms. Abbey's one of the great nominees by Mr. Garcetti. She went to a great college, at Whittier College. She has deep passion and cares for all people. She'd be a fine commissioner.
Thank you for that recommendation, Mr. Labange. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, you know, we have 12 members, Mr. Clerk. Why don't we reconsider the ordinances?
Very good, sir. Those would be items 2 through 6 and 19 through 24. Again, 2 through 6 and 19 through 24.
Okay, this vote is on reconsideration. Let's, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now we will actually vote on the items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And before I call on you, Mr. Labange, we're going to jump to item 32. I have a card on 32 from Mr. John Walsh. So, Mr. Walsh, come forward. We're on item 32. Mr. Walsh. I do not. Oh, there he is.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is a deal between the Irwin Street developer, the Village at Westwood Topanga project, and it concerns transfer of money. Now, I could talk on this. I've studied it for half an hour, but let's just put it this way. This is set up as a tax deal, so the developer doesn't have to pay a huge amount of tax. This is a tax break for the Westfield Topanga Public Benefit Trust Fund. That's the source of the tax write-off. And because of all these tax write-offs, that's why the city is falling apart, and that's why the pipes are bursting, because of the deals that go to the developers. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me hold that. Mr. Blumenfield. I'm sorry.
I wanted to remind people this is about accepting money for the city, not giving money to the city. It's about accepting money.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Let's, Madam Clerk, prepare to open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Mr. Labange, are you prepared? So now we want to turn the floor over to Tom Labange.
Mr. President, there's been a request from a member to send items 5 and 29 forthwith, sir.
Without objection, that will be the order.
Members, hey, Ed, roll the tape, will you? This is one of the greatest photographers in sports history. Please welcome Peter Reed Miller. And as you look on your screens or up on the big screens, you'll realize how talented this young man was. Came to Los Angeles, his family did. They moved here early from Chicago, where he's a native, but he ended up in Pasadena. And he's a great alumnus of Pasadena High School, where Jackie Robinson went to school, and his brother Mac. His higher education continued at the University of Southern California, and he began his photo career in 1964 at the USC-UCLA game, shooting for the campus yearbook El Rodeo at USC. That was his first assignment. For over 30 years, he was a staff and contract photographer for Sports Illustrated. But more than 100 covers featured the work of Peter. Many Olympic Games that he was involved with during that whole period of time. His clients also include Time, Live People, Money, Playboy, Runner's World, Newsweek, USA Weekend, and the New York Times. But I think in addition to covering 9 Olympic Games and 36 Super Bowls, he shot 14 NBA Finals, a World Series, Kentucky Derby, Stanley Cup, NCAA Basketball 4, and Men's and World Cup Soccer Finals. This year, 2014, marks the 50th anniversary of that USC-UCLA game, which marks the 50th anniversary of this great photographer. I had the great pleasure of meeting Peter like 40 years ago, because I was an assistant cameraman for NFL Films, and we would fight for the space on the sidelines. But he always has the longest lens, and he always saw his work. He always made sure the great ones got the greatest spots. Peter, we wanted to invite you down here, and Stephanie Marishik is right here from San Pedro. I know, Joe, you know Stephanie and the work she's done there. I didn't want this year to not pass without giving you recognition of all this beautiful work that you have done. And especially I remember the days in the Coliseum in the late winter, where the field would be in light and the stands would be dark, and it was like you're capturing canvas of a dancer on that. So on behalf of Mayor Garcetti, on behalf of all members of the City Council, including Coach Wesson, I want to salute you for this 50 years. Peter Reed Miller. Good job. Look over these guys. All right. You looking at him?
Yeah.
Good job. You know how to take a picture? I know you take a picture. I want you to say a few words, Peter.
And before you speak, Mr. Miller, I have to, Mr. Labange, this was a great presentation for us, many of us sports fans, to look at the photos that were on display. Took us on a great journey back to the past and then brought us to the future. So I appreciate the moments that you shared with us today. So with that said, we would love to hear a few words from you. Let's give him another round of applause.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Tom, who has shared many of those sidelines. And I got to tell you, this SC Notre Dame game this week was at great light again because it was 12:30.
Right.
But again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, City Council, for this proclamation. I am very honored. Thank you very much.
And,
The honor
Peter,
is ours.
Hey, Mr. President, great speech, shortest speech. We're going to elect him.
I like him so much, Mr. LaBonge.
Greetings, special greetings from Congresswoman Janice Hahn from Washington, who loves you as well and all the work that you've done. Peter Reed Miller, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. We're going to quickly go to item 31, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Herman. Please come forward, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Herman, item 31. Come on, John.
John Walsh. I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis. You want me to run?
No,
Okay.
no. I just
Number
hold his time.
31.
Hold his time, Mr. Walsh. Since you speak so much, you should sit closer to the microphone. I did not ask you to run.
If you give me a reserved seat like you give these people, I'll sit closer.
Just speak to the item, and you can.
You're
sit
not
closer.
speaking to the item. Why should I? Number 31. Okay, let me tell you what this is. This was a case, they settled it on June 2nd, Zachariah versus East Los Angeles Planning Commission. But then some oofty-goofty shit happened, and suddenly it's back here, and suddenly it's $375,000 payable to Commonwealth Land Title Company for the benefit of Angeles Avenue property. I won't go into this, but we need another FBI investigation on this.
Mr. Herman.
Now, regarding this, Mr. O'Farrell and Krikorian, we see that the city will settle to draw out a measly amount of $375,000 payable to the Commonwealth Land Title Company for the benefit, not to you taxpayers or the future taxpayers, but to all of you Angelinos. We have come up with a small fee of $375,000. But it does not come out of your pocket, so I can agree. Let's just tabulate the vote, all yes, and it's over. Hold my 20, oh, wait, I got 22 seconds, 21, let me go on. Hold on. Relative to amending prior council, and I am on topic, Dion, I'm reading it from your subtitle, The Agenda. July 2nd, 2014, representing, I'm going to save my 1 minute, actually. 4, 3, 2,
Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to call for a verbal amending motion, and our city attorney is going to articulate exactly what that will say.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. The language should be included into the moving clause and sent via wire transfer to Commonwealth Land Title Company. And for reference, this was already approved July 2nd. It's just having a different payee on this matter.
So, Mr. President, I move to include the language and incorporate that into the language and amend the motion, therefore.
Yeah, and I'll second that.
Thank you.
So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, let us move now quickly to item 27, which we have cards from Mr. Sachs, Mr. Herman, and Mr. Walsh. This is item 27. In fact, before you start, keep coming, but before you start, we have a very important introduction. I'd like to defer to Mr. Fuentes at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I just wanted to acknowledge the presence of the Verdugo High School Dons are here. Stand up, Dons.
All right, Verdugo.
This is Verdugo High School's leadership class. Their president, Monica Dumazian. Wave, Monica. Very good. She's the president of the student body there. They're joined by Brenda Fortune, who many of you know is a fantastic community liaison. Brenda does tremendous things in the community, and she's a great partner. And they're joined by some of their teachers, Ray Wilson and Dean. Dean, shout your name for me. Stirpetti. There you go. Very good. So give them a big round of applause, Verdugo Dons. They're on a tour of the building today, Mr. President.
All right, wonderful. I have a Dons, the Dorsey Dons, in the district that I'm blessed to represent. Okay, now let's get back to business, and I hope you enjoy your day. Mr. Sachs? Mr. Sachs passes. So Mr. Walsh, then Mr. Herman.
Did I get here fast enough? It hurts. That's okay. I know you want me in there fast.
Okay.
Number 27. Okay, this concerns fees for election recounts. Well, election recounts are a big deal. As you know, Mr. Perez lost because of an election recount, and an Asian woman beat him. So what they're doing now is racist. They are increasing the cost locally of election recounts to make sure that next time an Hispanic man runs against an Asian woman who didn't have any money, the Hispanic man will have plenty of money for the recount. As you raise it now to $9,246, half of your people over there, the clerk's office, they're all sitting around doing nothing on their backsides. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, now, Mr. Herman.
Well, students and fellow citizens of Los Angeles, should we be hampered by the payment of a sum of $9,246 per day to recount the election process? How we've come this down so low, I should just get on my knees and pray that somehow this hampering with the elections would be forgiving and cease. But rather, you inflict all of us voters, us American citizens, and this is not Ferguson, I'm talking about California, that this motion, this amendment is illegal, and I ask that it be placed to the side for further review. Thank you.
Okay, now let's prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to go to Mr. Cedillo. We're going to go to item 28. We do have a card on this item, so I'm going to ask that Mr. Sachs come forward on item 28.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Item 28, you're having a presentation by the Office of Immigrant Affairs regarding President Obama's new immigration initiatives. Is this the new office that was created by our new mayor? He talked about a policy of creating an Office of Immigration. Is this the one that that was created? Part one. Part two, did you have a presentation by the Office of Immigration Affairs a couple of months ago, I believe, maybe not even a couple of months ago? The County Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles had a decisive vote on the sheriff's policy regarding immigration and the detention of illegal immigrants. And it was quite contentious. And there were 3-2 vote. It turns out the swing vote to maintain the sheriff's policy of reporting detained immigrants to the ICE was made by then Supervisor Molina. She voted to keep that policy in effect. So I'm wondering how that's going to go over in her race for office in the city of LA. But nevertheless, did you have a hearing about that? Because what was interesting about that discussion, it was brought about because the police chief changed his policy about detaining immigrants. And Supervisor Yaroslavsky asked about a comparison of the sheriff's policy and the city of LA policy when it comes to detaining immigrants and reporting them to the immigration agency. So the county is maintaining their policy with the sheriff to report illegal immigrants to ICE, but the city isn't. And I was wondering, again, if your Immigration Affairs had a discussion on that.
Okay, thank you. I've been informed that Mr. Barajas, you did get your card in prior to discussion on this item. Hello, is his mic hot?
Hello. Thank you. 2 minutes or one?
2.
All right, 2. All right. Well, I read the title of this relative to requesting a presentation by the Office of Immigrant Affairs regarding President Obama's new immigration initiative. And as I understand it, you're looking for clarification on the executive order, I think, even though it doesn't say that. Executive order, because that's what I hope this is referring to the president's executive order. The problem that I think that you should raise is the action of the president legal? That is, I don't have any issue against immigrants. They should be natural citizens, but there's a due process involved. And I think that the president, whatever number he issued, 5 million or whatever, I think we have more immigrants than 5 million. So it's a political issue here. How does it affect your city? It's simple. Without a physical economy, you're not going to have immigrants being in the path of citizenry when you're paying them slave wages, just like Americans. We don't have jobs, and we need jobs, real jobs. And the immigrants who come in here, how does it affect them when a country collapsing like ours doesn't have real jobs, real production? So the question should be, what was the initiative taken by the President of the United States to allow such a doctrine to be implemented? And the question is it legal? I've been emphasizing Obama is illegal.
Okay, thank you. That concludes public comment on this item. Members, because of the president's executive order, and I know that in my office we've received a series of calls asking us questions about it. So I had a conversation with Mr. Cedillo, and we thought that it would be a good idea to get a briefing on how this actually will affect the city of Los Angeles. And we're very happy to have Dr. Lopez here today from our own Office of Immigrant Affairs. If you guys could come forward, please sit at the senior center table, and then I'm going to defer to Mr. Cedillo. You may want to give an opening statement, Mr. Cedillo, but welcome. And again, members, this is just information that will help us help our constituents. Mr. Cedillo.
Mr. President, thank you for your leadership on this matter. Our colleague, Mr. Buscaino, reminded me that we were on a bus in China when the President took this extraordinary action. This action, executive action, is typical of the powers used by every president except for one in the history of this nation. In fact, Franklin Roosevelt used hundreds of them when it was needed for this nation to move forward. This is a time of crisis. The federal government and the Congress has failed to act on a matter that is of extreme importance to the nation. We are a nation of immigrants, and we are a nation of laws, and the Congress has failed to reconcile those two important values of our nation. And so the President took it upon himself with much urging after waiting 6 years for Congress to act, to take executive action as is within his power. He expanded a program that he initially started with what's called DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Those were young children who were brought here through no choice of their own. They were Americans in every way except for the fact of their citizenship. And he brought forward this program so that they could be recognized, stabilized, and fully integrated into the mainstream of American society. He has expanded that program so that U.S.-born children who have parents who are immigrants could also have that same experience of being stabilized, of being able to be fully integrated into the mainstream of American society. We are asking the mayor's office, and they've done an incredible job, but we've asked them to add to their portfolio, to come here and inform the council about that program and what it is that this city of immigrants, can do to integrate successfully these immigrants into the mainstream. This is a time for us to bring people out of the shadows. This morning we had a press conference with respect to the California driver's license, and now we will hear from the Office of Immigrant Affairs about this new program by the President, which will bring at least maybe 1 million, 2 million people out of the shadows and into the mainstream. And so I thank you for your leadership. It's very important that we bring this stability and this certainty to these families here in the city, in the state, and the nation. And so I thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Lopez, welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm going to turn it over to you right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Council President Weston, and to the City Council for inviting me today to share with you the implementation plan for President Obama's executive action, which was announced, as Councilmember Cedillo said, on November 20th, 2014. This is a historic moment, and we are preparing as a city for the implementation of this very important immigration policy change that will affect many of our residents here in the city of LA. I am here to represent Mayor Garcetti and his Office of Immigrant Affairs, an office that has as its primary focus the coordination of services for LA residents, regardless of immigration status. Our mayor established that office in September 2014, and from that moment, we have been creating programs and initiatives to help support our immigrants as they integrate into our city. Through our driver's license work, our citizenship work, our deferred action for childhood arrivals work, and now executive action. Mayor Garcetti supports the President's executive action and issued a statement last week on the importance of this game-changing shift that will keep families together and will also contribute to our local economic vitality by issuing work permits. The executive action will benefit almost 4 million undocumented individuals in this country. Today, I am going to brief you on the President's executive action, its impact on the city, and the implementation plan going forward that we will propose. The mayor's goal here is to ensure that we enroll all eligible populations in the key programs that have been announced by the President, and to be successful in this effort to support our undocumented populations here in the City of Angels. So what are these specific policy changes? There are several, but I want to highlight a few for you today. One is the Deferred Action for Parents and Accountability Program, also known as DAPA. Under DAPA, the undocumented parents of U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents, green card holders can register with the government now and get authorization if they came to the U.S. before January 1st, 2010. The work authorization will be valid for 3 years, and this program will also protect immigrants from arrest and deportation for those 3 years and can be renewed. Additionally, through that employment authorization, that will allow individuals here in the city and nationally to work legally, thus contributing to our local economy and generation of revenue. Other safeguards include applying for a social security number, travel documentation to be able to leave and return to the U.S., and in some states qualifying for in-state tuition. One thing that I do want to note is that USCIS, the government agency that we've been working with, has not formally developed an application process. So when you're getting calls from your constituents, one thing to remember is that there is no application process at this point. We expect this process to be in place in the next 180 days as stipulated by USCIS, with the expectation that it will most likely occur in May. In the meantime, though, we want to prepare our residents, and what you can do is let people know that they can start collecting appropriate documentation to prove, 1, their identity, 2, their relationship to a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, and 3, continuous residence in the U.S. over 5 years. The second program that I want to highlight for you that's very, very important with this new executive action is the expansion of DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. That covers additional Dreamers. The Department of Homeland Security will expand DACA so that individuals who are brought to this country as children can apply now if they entered before January 2010, regardless of their current age. These individuals will also gain DACA relief for 3 years. They will have a work permit and other benefits. Other key areas include citizenship public awareness, the creation of a White House task force on new Americans, ensuring that individuals with lawful status can travel to their country of origin, and implementing a new priority enforcement program that ends secure communities and institutes a new program that focuses on serious criminal offenders. So what are the impacts of this new executive action on Angelenos and Los Angeles? I provided for you a chart, hopefully you got it right now, that outlines the data and the numbers of people that will be potentially eligible for these 2 programs. So if you look at that chart and parent eligibility, you will see that in California there's going to be approximately 980,000 people that will be eligible for this program under DAPA, 310,000 in the county.
Excuse me, could you say what DAPA stands for again?
Deferred Action for Parents and Accountability. So these are the parents that will be eligible for the program and enrollment. 155 for LA City. And for the DACA eligible population, we estimate that for California, 459,000 will be eligible, LA County 150,000, and in the city 66,000. Those data were recently analyzed by the USC Center for the Study of Immigrant Integration. So what is our implementation plan? MOIA has been working, our Office of Immigrant Affairs has been working to advance key initiatives, as I mentioned, and has really built a strong infrastructure to be able to support and coordinate efforts of this historic opportunity to serve underrepresented communities throughout Los Angeles. And as we move forward with this plan, we will be working with you, the City Council, to ensure that we are all working together in the best interests of the city. So what have we done so far? First, we've been working with USCIS, the agency that will be responsible for overseeing the programs that were announced by the President, and also efforts to implement that locally. We've also convened a number of nonprofit organizations, consulates, and other key stakeholder groups to discuss ways that we can partner and coordinate efforts on executive action. 3, on Monday, our mayor joined a coalition of mayors in the nation to support the President's action, and we will also be having convening in New York City to talk about implementation strategies and how different cities will be focusing their energies to make sure that this is successful. We are also developing an informational session which will draw 10,000 people at the LA Convention Center on December 14th. We are working with key city departments, the libraries, the Economic Workforce Development Department, through our youth source centers, our day laborer centers, our work source centers, and family source centers as places where we can do outreach and where we can also service this population. We will also inform the public through an outreach campaign and communication effort on specific policy changes and what they can do to prepare. We want to seize this opportunity not only to help maximize the number of Angelenos that can benefit from this, but also in order to reach the mayor's overall goal for civic engagement and immigrant integration. We are also working on the following strategies as a way to successfully implement this locally. We will be hosting quarterly convenings with key LA stakeholders to maximize collaboration and communication. We will be hosting also different roundtables focused on legal services, because a lot of these populations will also need legal services. We will also be focusing our efforts on partnering with the LAUSD to create a school site-based series of workshops aimed at reaching parents and students who may be eligible. We will also work with our media outlets to also inform the public of the benefits of applying and ensuring that they do step forward. And finally, we will be working very closely with federal agencies, government officials, national organizations, and other entities to ensure and highlight best practices so that we're able to successfully implement this project. The strategies that we have proposed here build on existing work already being done with the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, and we look to maximize this new announcement through programs and ways to connect with our immigrant communities. Again, we are going to rely on you, the City Council, for a coordinated effort, and we will be working with you on future convenings and other programs that we can initiate together for the City of LA. One thing that I think would be useful as we move forward is that a lot of your constituents may want information, so we've created a one-page fact sheet that could be very useful for you as you get those calls from local constituents. I think hosting workshops and informational sessions have proven to be very successful for us with our driver's license work. And really thinking about how we can develop a coordinated strategy that will be effective is also something that I think we would like to discuss with you as well. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to brief you, and I look forward to partnering with you on this very important project. Thank you very much.
Well, again, thank you so very much. I'd like to... Mr. Labange? Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, and thank you for this presentation. I suspect there won't be a positive answer, but and I'm not an expert in this arena, but I've just read a couple articles about it. Is there any chance that there's anything we do for a group that I've seen referred to as the other dreamers? People that were brought as children to the United States from Mexico and other countries surrounding, and didn't really know another country other than the U.S. and in many cases speak only English, and then wound up getting deported. Is there anything that this does to allow them any kind of status, or are they just out of luck because this kind of thing didn't happen in time? Do we know the rules about that? Is there any chance that that could apply to Los Angelenos who were in that unfortunate circumstance?
I guess to respond, I would like more clarification on your question. So are you talking about people that were already in the process of getting DACA, or?
No, just people who were brought here at a young age and wound up being deported. Because this, presumably also because this process didn't exist in a timely fashion. I'm no expert, so that's why I'm asking.
So is your question about the people that have been already deported?
That have already been deported, but otherwise could have been helped in this circumstance?
So I think for this purpose, what we're really focused on right now is on looking at the people who will be potentially eligible for executive action. So I don't know the sort of details of what happens to, those other individuals that you're speaking of, but I think...
So my question is, I guess,
Yeah.
would they be protected in any way, or the fact that they've already been the victim of that process eliminate them?
I don't think they're part of that 4 million that are going to be eligible for this particular program. These are people that are already in the U.S.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Lamanche.
Very much, Doctor, and for the mayor's office and this here. Does anybody, colleagues, any of you watch Morning Joe at all? You're all sleeping. Morning Joe, it's on MSNBC, and Congressman Becerra was there. And Joe Scarborough is the congressman, formerly, who is the host along with Mika Brzezinski. And when Mr. Becerra spoke this morning, he talked about his experience for 22 years. Congressman Becerra has been on the member of Congress, the United States, and how in the past the Senate and the members of Congress would work together, House of Representatives, and if they got stalled, they'd have a conference committee and they'd solve problems. The situation that the federal government is right now, they're not solving problems. And the federal government now, under the direction of our president, is trying to solve a problem. So this is a very important step. Very important step. There's two things I would like to ask our city librarian, because I didn't hear you mention the libraries, but the librarians are our factors of good in, I think, 73 branches. Give a brief report of what the library is able to do and has been done. More people have found success through the doors of our public libraries than any other department.
Well, Dr. Linda Lopez is certainly one of the biggest cheerleaders of the work that our libraries are doing in the area of citizenship and just providing information on DACA, AB 60, the executive action. I think there's a very important role for our libraries to play. We were the first public library in the nation to be a partner with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. This is work we love. It is appropriate for public libraries to do. Public libraries across this nation have followed the lead of the Los Angeles Public Library in this area. Again, 14,000 people in LA have taken their first step on the path to citizenship at the Los Angeles Public Library because we're a trusted neighborhood institution. Our staff have been great in this, and we're just very proud of this work, and we look forward to being additionally helpful as immigration reform takes shape in the countell.
And very good. And members, also, you would know, maybe Mr. Cedillo, you know what my second favorite school is in Los Angeles after John Marshall High?
Roosevelt?
No. Evans Adult Center at Figueroa and Sunset Boulevard. Evans has been the gateway, and I'm so proud of Evans. Do you remember, Mike, you're young enough to remember the old cartoons where they had the burgeoning buildings of all the people in the buildings, like a New York scene? That's what Evans is. It's the energy, and it's so important. We're partnership with LA Unified and LA Community College, and also I see some of the mayor's deputies here. I'd like to see us have, one day when it's appropriate, an office of citizenship to direct people. Because one thing I do hear from people, that they feel we're doing these for all these people, but what about the people who are in the process? We welcome everybody in Los Angeles because they're Los Angeles residents. We want them to follow the laws, return the books, not be late, and that. Red light, green light, all the stuff that's there. But at the same time, there's opportunity. And you mentioned about the consulates. Our city has over 100 consulates here and the diversity. Next to Hong Kong, next to New York, which holds the United Nations, Los Angeles is the home to more international representatives, which is what Los Angeles is all about. So all our deputies should be briefed on this as well, so we're in tune and help in any which way that we can. But at some time, I would like to see us fold into an office of guidance for citizenship, wherever it may, or a desk at the library, whatever it is, because I think that's a very important next step. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo, stay there. You could stay.
Stay there, John.
Keep the seat warm. Mr. Cedillo.
I was going to respond to Councilmember Koretz's inquiry. Mr. Koretz, I think, as the doctor was very thoughtful, many of those questions need an individual answer from an immigration lawyer. And so you have to check. The DACA program was expanded, and so there are opportunities for people who were previously not eligible to participate. But for others, and it was a very broad range that you laid out your question, you may want to have an individual attorney talk to these people so that they can see if they fit in to any of these changing programs. Since I'm up, I'd like to applaud the work of the librarian in our library, an incredible infrastructure, a very trusted agent of the city, and just want to thank you for your collaboration and commitment to making sure that we integrate immigrants into the mainstream of civic life in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Labange? Or is that a technical? So look, let me just say how much we appreciate the work that you've both done. We really appreciate the update and helping us understand what's going on so that then we can provide information to the constituents that come into our offices every day since this announcement, asking questions. So again, I thank you, and we'll move on from this point. Thank you again so much. Okay, so without objection, we'll adopt this report, and that will now bring us to item 26. In fact, instead of 26, I'll go to item 17. If I remember correctly, Mr. O'Farrell held this for you, Mr. Parks, item 17. So we're up now. Do I have cards? No, in fact, we've already had a hearing, so we do not have to take the cards. So the floor is yours, Mr. Parks.
And pardon me, there are two committee reports on file for this matter, Public Safety Committee report as well as the Budget and Finance Committee report.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then maybe, Mr. Parks, Mr. Krikorian?
Yeah, I think a motion is required, Mr. President, so I'd like to move the Budget and Finance report, please.
Second.
Okay. So I think what I want to do is hear from the chair, and then Mr. Parks will go to you. So I'd like to turn it over to Mitch Englander.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to call the chief up if I could to address any concerns, issues, or comments or questions. I'd also like to offer a friendly amendment to Mr. Krikorian's motion. Actually, it's to receive and file the public safety report and accept the budget and finance report. So that's because we've got to do both. Second. Okay, so that'll be what's before us. But Chief, if you can walk us through this, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
In fact, Chief, before you start, Mr. Parks, did you want to say something prior to this conversation beginning? Okay. Back to you, Chief, and it's good to see you.
Good morning, sir. As I took this position and I had individual meetings with all the elected officials, our labor, our members, the recurring theme I heard was to restore and reform the fire department. And further on, as I went through the process, the mayor emphasized to me the 3 R's of improving response times, acquiring resources, and being reflective of the communities that we serve. And then I was asked the question multiple times, what was my vision of the optimal fire department? And I stated that it would be a department that was metric-driven, technologically sophisticated, community-focused, and reflective of the people that we serve. And this budget request is a critical first step in making a reality that optimal vision that we have for the Los Angeles Fire Department.
Mr. Krikorian? Okay, Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. Chief, good morning. Good morning, sir. Sorry I wasn't able to get with you before your appointment, but congratulations. Thank you very much. Yeah. Let me just go through a couple of things that concern me on this proposal. And I realize that generally general managers that come in get an opportunity to look at things that they may need to help them be successful. Recently, one of your staff was here and they were talking about, I believe, an audit that was done. And one of the things that's been brought up over and over again is we note over the last several years that the workload of the fire department has continually
migrated over to paramedics, about 85%, and then the fire service about 15%. If I understand the budget request today, most of it appears to be on the fire service side. The thing that concerns me most is that as I drive through the city and see the fire department deploying, I often see 2 or 3 fire trucks and a paramedic at a paramedic call. And yet we understand clearly why paramedics roll on fire calls because of potential injury. But I don't know how many times a fire breaks out at a paramedic call. Yet we then come in and say we're shorthanded and we need more fire personnel. I just don't know whether, at least for me, that I can support that we add fire personnel before we've assessed the deployment and the strategies of how we're using the existing fire personnel. Maybe you can respond to that.
Yes, sir. You make some excellent points there. EMS is 85% of our call load. And when we bring back a fire company, they not only address fire incidents, they also run on basic life support EMS incidents. We're asking for the restoration of one of those engine companies in the Fire Station 35's district. More of the specifics of EMS, in addition to that, we're asking for some nurse educators. We're asking for some nurse educators that are actually trainers of our paramedics. Currently, we have a ratio of 390 to 1. With the approval of this request, we're asking for 2 additional educators. That'll improve our ratio to 234 to 1. And that's a nurse educator to a paramedic. Also in the request is an emergency dispatch manager. And just recently, we've implemented a tiered dispatch system at our dispatch center. And we had an event where we saved 28 seconds in responding to a 10-year-old little girl in cardiac arrest. That goes to your point of sending the appropriate resources. This new system is triaging the calls better, and we're very optimistic about a positive outcome. And the person that was significantly responsible for that is a position that is funded in this budget request. So I understand your concern on the surface. It may appear that it's a fire-heavy request, but it's actually a broad-based request with a focus on improving our emergency services, emergency medical services.
Okay. The other issue is that on civilian, if we begin to look at the civilianization of the dispatchers, or is that still on the table?
No, it's not. They're actually focused more on the implementation of the new tiered dispatch system. In fact, there is over 300 years of dispatcher experience that went into the development of the current card system. The system went active actually Monday of this week. So it's the civilianization piece for the time being is off the table.
Okay. Let me ask Mr. Krikorian a question. There's no CAO or CLA report. Do we know how this fits into the next year's budget, or because it's permanent positions, I'm assuming?
All of the position increases, if I'm not mistaken, were resolution authorities. But the same requests will certainly be in the fire department's budget request for next year. The reason that this is especially important to do a mid-year augmentation at the chief's request is obviously we have a new fire chief, and he wasn't here at the time of the last budget. Some of these requests were in fact made by the last fire chief, and we actually held them back during the budget process in anticipation of having a permanent chief who might have different views about deployment and about reorganization and so forth. So that's why this mid-year augmentation was important, and I think the chief, to his credit, has put together a list of very important requests that were considered by public safety. In budget and finance, we actually reduced the number of requests. We focused only on the things that were most essential for public safety immediately, and we deferred those matters that could be rolled into the next year's budget request. So I don't know if that responds.
You responded. Chief, nothing personal, but I'm not going to vote for this because I'm concerned about our overall budget deficit. I'm concerned that we're adding to the overhead, although we're talking about over $4 million. We have a budget, from what my perspective is, that we can't afford personnel costs as it is, and then to add another $4 million seems not, in my judgment, to be something we should be doing now and not part of next year's budgetary process. And
Your
so I think,
time, Mr.
or,
Look, watch it.
oh yeah,
Your
let me
time.
just finish my last sentence.
Yep.
So I would just ask that you continue to look at the deployment and begin to look at resources internally, because I just don't believe that the cities, with its budget deficit and other things, can afford to just add $4 million to a department that's already representing, along with the police, about 70% of our budget.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lamont.
I rise to dispute Mr. Park's statements, which I understand, but there's going to be an earthquake. And we've already knocked off about 180 firefighters from our daily allotment. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a current vacancy of a little over 200 spots today.
Okay, so I just want to remember, Mr. Parks, it is a changing dynamic. There is new building codes, but the earthquake is our biggest factor. And fire has changed. Conflagration, is that the word when the fire burns the whole block?
Yes, sir.
Conflagration. Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez, for correcting me. That's is not a liability as it once was because of our building codes.
Correct.
But we're still going to have an earthquake. And I just don't want to short-sight it in this area here. And also, I've been in this building, in this chambers, when we discussed that we must put whoever has the skill, because originally the police department had the ambulances and the Department of Hospitals that the city had. And then they would run out in the brown bombers, they called them. And then they moved into the firehouses. And there was great conflict between those civilian employees and firefighters, and then paramedic employees and firefighters. And Chief Manning, then as a deputy chief, helped resolve that. All those issues resolved. And at this time, they also made a statement. If you need someone from Los Angeles, and the fire department, whatever unit they have, will come and try to help you. And I'd rather spend that money in helping one family, save one person, than to try to short budget it in this issue here. Obviously, we always have to rethink what we do, but I wanted to make it loud and clear, because my voice is not going to be heard much longer here, that you must fully staff the fire department in the future, because the big one, Mr. Englander, as you well know, and your leadership, is going to come, and we need as much staffing as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me defer to Mr. Englander at this time.
So just to close, if I could, I want to say I actually don't disagree with Councilmember Bernard Parks on this. We do have a budget issue, but more importantly, we can't afford not to. And I have full faith and confidence in our fire chief. I think he's done a phenomenal job, and we've talked at length on many occasions, not only in public safety, but personally, on his ideas and his vision, the things that already this chief has done in such a short amount of time with the data transparency, all the issues that we had problems with in making informed decisions, the bureau concept, the 4-bureau concept, in looking at tier dispatch and what we're also doing with the new system that has already been put in place. If you look at some of the huge changes that have already occurred since this new chief has already taken the helm, they're incredibly significant and life-changing and life-saving. We can't afford not to support these. And $4 million, $5 million, that's a small price to pay, and it's only a deposit on what we're going to be coming forth with in reforms and initiatives. Our core function, the most important thing we do in local government, is public safety. It's the fire department and the police department. That's the most important thing that we do. And this department, as we all recognized, has been decimated over the years because of some poor decisions and misinformed decision making. This chief has really turned that around already in such a short period of time, and there's a long way to go. I anticipate and expect you back at this table asking for even more, and we've got to remember that that is our first and foremost responsibility in protecting this city in everything we do. And I ask for your aye vote in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let's prepare to vote on this item. Could we open the roll, Madam Clerk? Close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Okay. Forthwith, per Mr. Labange.
And Mr. President, for clarification, that's the Budget and Finance Committee report.
Okay, let's go. Mr. Blumenfield, we're going to now go to item 26. So I do have cards. I just need to know how you want to proceed. Do you want me to take the cards first? Okay, on item 26, I have Mr. Walsh, and I have a Stephanie. Stephanie, I can't. Oh, Mr. Walsh, you're out of time, I've been informed. So anyway, we have no, you're disrupting the meeting. Stephanie, I cannot pronounce your last name. Maybe you could help me, but it's a Stephanie from UCLA related. Arnold Sachs, Gina Goodhill Rosen. Please come forward. Please, if you're ready, it's no particular order.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm Stephanie Pincel.
Okay.
I am the director of the Center for Sustainable Communities at the Institute of the Environment and Sustainability. And I would like to support this motion in the sense that I think that the city is really moving forward in an extraordinary way, thinking about energy use throughout the built environment. And we provided a lot of the data that helped formulate these kinds of approaches, and are very proud and pleased to serve in that role and look forward to being a partner in moving energy conservation and efficiency forward in city buildings in Los Angeles. So thank you, and I think it's a fantastic new step forward.
Thank you for coming here today. I know it was kind of challenging because of the weather, so your appearance is appreciated. Mr. Sachs, and then, like I said, Gina Rosen, followed by Charla Simono, Kimmy Narita. Okay, Mr. Sachs.
I'm just waiting for you, sir. 13. Yes, thank you. Arnold Sachs. Considering that the City Council a few years ago acted to initiate a solar program for solar paneling for the city of LA, why are you taking so long to develop this program for city buildings? Considering that the city has been in a drought for, 3 years? Why are you taking so long to develop this program for city buildings? What you been doing? I mean, this is the action that you take. I know what I have a suggestion. You could have a presentation, but that's totally different. Now, we're talking about having more conservation efforts for the users of the water and the energy. But let's look at the delivery system of the water to these buildings. You have an infrastructure that is, what's the newspaper say? The city provides grades to the water, the DWP, but the DWP does the pipelines or the water lines or whatever. D's and F's, C's, D's, and B's. You know, when the county's hospital, the federal government looked at the county MLK and they were grading it D. When they flunked it, they lost the money. Who decides when the infrastructure to deliver the water to the buildings is so bad that it needs to be repaired? Keep in mind, with the new bonds that were just passed to improve the infrastructure to deliver the water to the city of LA and to Southern California, you're going to be paying for those bonds to deliver the water into a system that can't deliver the water that it already has without breaking down.
Thank you. Okay, so if I could get, again, Ms. Rosen, if you're here, don't be shy. You can line up behind one another. Charla Simono, Kimmy Narita, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, President Wesson, and for members for taking public comment. And thank you to Council Members Bloomingfield and Weezer for introducing this motion. My name is Gina Goodhill Rosen, and I'm representing Global Green USA. We're a national environmental nonprofit organization. We strongly support this motion as it's an important first step to meeting the water and energy efficiency goals that the city has already committed to. As you all already know, LADWP has recently adopted a goal of 15% energy efficiency improvements by 2020. And then separately, the mayor announced a separate goal of 20% water reduction by 2017. We can't meet these goals unless existing buildings are part of the solution. Existing buildings are the largest users of energy in the city and one of the biggest users of water. About half of the city's electricity comes from just 4% of the buildings in Los Angeles. And at the same time, over half of Los Angeles's carbon emissions come from buildings. Buildings are also heavy water users, which is especially critical for a drought-stricken region that imports 80% of the water it consumes. In recent years, Los Angeles has shown itself to be a leader in clean energy and innovative thinking, and we encourage the city to continue on that track. We look forward to working with the Department of Buildings and Safety and the City Energy Project to craft the policies and programs that will help the city meet its goals, and we encourage the City Council to pass the motion before you. Thank you.
Thank you. So just identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Shimono. On behalf of Kilroy Realty Corporation, I would like to express our support for the stakeholder process to develop a program to improve the energy and water efficiency of existing buildings within Los Angeles. Kilroy Realty Corporation is a Class A commercial office owner, manager, and developer highly focused on sustainability. Sustainability is one of our core values and provides us with a competitive advantage because of investor and tenant demands. We are recognized by the Global Real Estate Sustainability Benchmark as the North American leader in sustainability, as well as the regional sector leader for all North American office participants. More than 100 institutional investors representing $6.1 trillion of capital use the GRESB results throughout the investment management and engagement process to optimize the risk-return profile of their real estate investments. We are also awarded the 2014 Energy Star Partner of the Year, which represents commercial landlords who demonstrate an organization-wide commitment to reducing energy costs for their tenants in partnership with Energy Star. Energy Star provides the initial foundation in managing our energy consumption to help reduce our impact on the environment and to save money for our tenants. We have established a sustainability action plan for our existing buildings portfolio, which includes benchmarking all energy, water, and waste data on a monthly basis, undergoing energy audits or retro-commissioning every 5 years, and reducing energy use by 10% of 2010 performance by 2015. Water efficiency and energy efficiency of our existing portfolio are key performance indicators for all of our awards that we have received and represent their crucial importance to our continued success with our sustainability program. We look forward to working with the Mayor's Office to shape policies that will transform LA. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. And after Ms. Narita, if I could have Adam Lane, and then David, I think it's Hodgkins, and a Joseph Sullivan. Good morning.
Good morning, Council President Wesson and Council members. My name is Kimi Narita, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement on the City Energy Project, and I'm here to express our strong support for this motion. The motion directs the Department of Building and Safety in coordination with the City Energy Project to convene a stakeholder process. Through this process, we expect to develop policies and programs to improve energy and water efficiency throughout existing buildings in Los Angeles. The City Energy Project is a national initiative to create healthier and more prosperous American cities by addressing the energy efficiency in existing buildings. The project is a joint partnership between two nonprofits, the Natural Resources Defense Council, for which I work for, and the Institute for Market Transformation. The City of Los Angeles is one of 10 pioneering cities in the City Energy Project. Other cities include Boston, Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Kansas City, Missouri, Orlando, Philadelphia, and Salt Lake City. The City Energy Project provides participating cities with the much-needed capacity and technical expertise to develop tailored energy efficiency strategies that make sense for their individual cities. This motion is a great starting point for an important process. In order to craft strong but appropriate policies and programs, the city must know what stakeholders think. We must leverage the expertise of the local real estate community and the local energy efficiency community. I'm pleased to note that leading real estate company, CBRE, located in Los Angeles, is in support of this motion as well, and has provided a written letter of support. The City Energy Project would provide the financial and technical support to convene the stakeholders. Additionally, through the project, there is a strong network of city staff and advisors working on efficiency across 10 cities at the same time. Los Angeles can leverage this unique network to learn and share best practices across cities. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Adam Lane, David Hodgkins, Sullivan, Joseph, Mr. Barajas. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Council. My name is Adam Lane. I'm the Legislative Coordinator at the Los Angeles Business Council, and I'm here to express our support of this motion to convene a stakeholder process to develop a program to improve energy and water efficiency in existing city buildings. As Ms. Goodhill-Rosen already mentioned, with DWP's commitment to 15% energy efficiency by 2020 and Mayor Garcetti's executive directive to reduce per capita potable water use to 20% by 2017, this motion is highly beneficial to achieve said goals while simultaneously providing the economic benefit of saving on monthly utility bills and increasing the value of buildings. We would like to thank Council Members Huizar and Blumenfield and the Mayor's team for their leadership on this issue. We recently had members of the Mayor's Budget and Innovation team present at our November Legislative Affairs Committee meeting, and the pathway forward was well received. We've already had members express interest in being involved in the stakeholder working groups. We look forward to hearing to the first kickoff meeting and hearing what the next steps are to get involved and where the LA Business Council and its members can help. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hodgkins, are you here? If I could have Joseph, are you here? Come on up. And Mr. Barajas? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Council members. My name is David Hodgins. I'm Executive Director of the LA Better Buildings Challenge, which is a city-sponsored program. It's a voluntary leadership initiative with a goal to achieve 20% savings by 2020. Our initial goal was 30 million square feet. We've now got 52 million square feet of properties participating, including Kilroy Realty, a number of city buildings, all around this goal of 20% by 2020. I think you've heard about the economic and environmental benefits of efficiency. So I'm here to speak in support of this ordinance. Of this motion. We've been working in the field with property owners, with DWP customers to help them understand their energy use, and it's very valuable information to understand not just what the bill says, but how are you doing relative to other buildings. That's really the foundational starting point to make progress from. And so having that information is crucial. There is a state law that requires benchmarking at the point of a transaction, but what we've seen is really that's so late in the process that it doesn't affect the decisions leading up to that transaction. So having a stakeholder engagement process about how to develop that starting point and measure against and plan towards is crucially important. So with that, I hope that we will get to begin that process soon.
Thank you. So if I could have Mr. Sullivan, is it?
Yes.
Followed by Mr. Barajas. Brian, if you come up, followed by Mr. Herman. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. I'm Joseph Sullivan. I work for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 11, as well as the National Electrical Contractors Association. And I want to talk about the benefit. First of all, I want to say I support the motion to develop a program to promote energy and water efficiency. And I want to talk about the benefit these types of programs can have on job creation. These create good jobs, well-paying jobs. They pull people into apprenticeship programs that are privately funded. In the case of our apprenticeship program, it's a 5-year education. It's over 95% privately funded, and it is a $25,000 education that the students pay nothing for, not even their books. Energy efficiency is one of the best job creators. It creates 16 jobs for every 1 million spent. And then my last point I want to make is I want to share something that's somewhat analogous, that we've seen a solar boom in the last 5 years. And this has been caused by ARRA funding, the federal business tax credit, and the state requirement for 33% investment in renewable energy. This solar boom, according to a recent study by UC Berkeley that was released about a month ago,
has created 10,200 new construction jobs, which has led to $17.5 million in training. And like I said, a lot of that's privately funded. These jobs pay an average of $78,000, and they have benefits and pensions. So when these policies are done right and coupled with the proper incentives, they can have a major impact on creating good jobs while cleaning up the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barajas, followed by Mr. Herman.
Alrighty. You know, all of this premise about saving energy or saving water, you know, you could actually resolve all of that. Here's a word that scares all the green environmentalists: nuclear power. I mean, that provides a lot of energy, doesn't it? What about desalination plants, which can provide energy and water? But there's no emphasis on those technologies. But what I've been hearing from these individuals is, well, let's make a profit. Yeah, solar energy, yeah. What about saving water? Yeah, we can make a profit out of it. Yeah, right, guys? This is stupid. We could have resolved the issue if we had patriots coming up here saying explicitly we do not have a government. A government by the people, for the people, of the people, which means science thrives, not solar energy or windmills. We have a decadence in the United States right now, and it's clearly has been demonstrated by the individuals who spoke here. They don't, I don't know. They care more of making money than providing the future of the world. It should tell you what the conditions are. We have fusion, we have nuclear. Where is that?
Okay, come on, Mr.
But in
Herman.
1 minute, I'm going to effectively state this for the record, that the mayor's directive to convene all the stakeholders to the process of development, it's very optimistic. For the city's experience and inability of experience to improve clean technology does not exist. We still have volts that are exploding because of too much water flooding them. We still don't have a grid, a matrix to develop clean air. So what the hell are we doing with federal dollars and state dollars to improve technology? The optimistic view is this: low-paying jobs. And that's the reason why you want illegal immigration here. Bring in immigrants who have
Stay on
technology
subject,
and
Mr. Herman.
to develop this country, to develop the city of Los Angeles so the lights don't black out, we're not in the dark, and once again, don't hamper growth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that concludes comment or public comment on this item. Mr. Blumenfield, I have Mr. Koretz on the queue as well. Did you want him to speak and then you close?
Well, I'll kick us off, if that's okay. Either way.
Okay, go right ahead.
I want to first thank my colleague, Mr. Huizar, for co-authoring this motion. I always enjoy working with a great representative from the 14th District. I also want to thank Mr. Fuentes for allowing this item to go directly to Council. I know, though, that we're going to have a full report that's going to come out in the new year, and so you and the committee will have a full chance to vet the substance of this as that comes back. And I also want to thank the Mayor's Office, specifically the City Energy Project, for working so closely with us on this important issue. And, of course, all the stakeholders, many of whom came and spoke today, and they come from a variety of diverse groups, as you heard, all coming together for this important endeavor. This is a win-win for everybody. It might appear on the surface just that it's an environmental issue, but it's also about business, and it's about jobs, and it's about competitiveness in LA. We can help building owners save money, and we can help the environment in the process. There's a staggering fact that comes from UCLA and the city's energy project, which helped drive this initiative, and I think one of the speakers referred to it. And it shows that half of the city's electricity comes from just 4% of the users out there. Half of our energy use is 4% of the ownership of the parcels. So that says with a focused effort, we can make a real impact. Energy data is imperative as we make better policy decisions with better information about all the building stock within the city of Los Angeles. Now, it's also about water. And just because it's been raining the last couple of days doesn't mean we're out of the drought. According to an article in yesterday's LA Times, state water experts say that it would take over 150% of the average rainfall for California to recover from our drought. That would mean a total of 75 inches of rain from October 1st through September 30th of 2015, something that's not going to happen. So we need to keep vigilant on that front as well. Yes, this is primarily about buildings, privately owned buildings throughout the city, but it also builds on what we're doing in the city. Not just the motions that I was putting forward last week, but city policies like that we require municipal buildings over 7,500 square feet meet LEED Silver standards. We're doing things, we're taking action. There's more that we need to do as a city, but it's about the bigger picture. It's about the city showing that we can lead, not just by what we do in our own buildings, not just by our regulatory actions, but leading as a convener. And here we're going to convene a stakeholder group that will bring people together for an important public purpose. I look forward to that stakeholder process that will develop a program that will take us to the next level of sustainability measures, which will benefit our environment, our business, and our communities at large. The City of Los Angeles can and must help the biggest users of energy and water reduce their consumption. And as a result, this city will be a healthier place for our children to grow. It'll be a more sustainable place for us to put roots down, and a more competitive city to help attract and retain business. I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I wanted to thank Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Huizar for bringing this forward. I think this may be the most important single action we take in terms of sustainability and LA's impact. What I wanted to do was clarify something that Mr. Blumenfield already largely clarified, which is if you read this, it reads as if it's mostly focused on our incentivizing and working with private building owners to get them to take this action. I wanted to be clear that we're also focusing on ourselves, because LA City has been uniquely weak in this regard in the past. So you look at Dodger Stadium and you can see waterless urinals. You know they are saving millions of gallons of water. You look at City Hall, we don't have it. You look at most other city buildings, we don't have it. So we need to aggressively take those steps and do it quickly, especially in this drought, because the water savings in retrofitting can be huge in our city buildings, and equally true for our electricity savings. So I want to emphasize that is also a part of our focus, and I think should be our greatest focus, because we ourselves need to be the example. We haven't been, we should be, we will be, and I know this motion will help make that happen.
Okay, there are no more speakers on the queue. Why don't we vote on this item? Let's open the roll, Madam Clerk. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, would it be appropriate at this time for us to recess the regular meeting and enter the special?
Yes, sir.
So let's proceed.
Very good, sir. Blumenfield, Bonabusco, Cedillo, England, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Corona, Labonte, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 15 members present, and a quorum. Mr. President, items 33 and 34 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, why don't we then proceed with item, can we vote on them, Mr. City Attorney, to the same time? So why don't we put 33 and 34 together? And let's, on those items, Mr. Parks?
33 special, just ask some questions.
Okay, then let's vote on 34. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now let's move to item 34. Mr. Parks, the floor is yours.
33?
Oh, 33, I'm sorry.
Yep. Could we have city attorney staff come up, please?
Mr. Clark is right back there watching us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just had a couple of questions. When this item has been hanging around for a number of months, and I was somewhat surprised when I saw in the paper that you're asking for more resources, and we didn't hear about that before the election. And I was wondering, was it apparent to your office that you were going to be asking for resources before the election?
Yes, council member, it was apparent, and I believe that in the CLA report, when they reported to your council on the proposition, that they discussed our office's need for additional resources.
The other thing I was wondering about, have you done an assessment internally? I'm assuming with realignment, now Prop 47, that a lot of your municipal code sections and things that you have made a living on may not get into court, nor be able to be processed as we've done in the past. Are those things that may at some point in the future be eliminated?
Councilmember Parks, as far as the municipal code violations, as you may know, many of those we have moved into the ACE program, the citation program, so they would be processed or prosecuted in essence through a different means, which is just up and running over the last couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
It would not be our intention unless the council made the decision to remove a municipal code violation. It would not be our intention not to prosecute them to the extent that's appropriate.
What about those violations that you've sent to hearings with the leverage of, if not complied with, that you're going to be sending to court or prosecute through the court system? Are those being impacted at all?
And well, Mary Claire Molitor, you can speak to that. Mary Claire is the chief of our criminal branch.
It would not impact our hearing program. We're still utilizing that for misdemeanors that we feel are appropriate.
I can't hear.
We still are using our hearings process to handle misdemeanors that we feel are more appropriately handled in that hearing setting.
But we use the leverage of the court system for people to comply. And I'm just wondering, now that these ex-felonies are coming as misdemeanors, how do they fit in the system?
Well, this is a work in progress. We've never had this experience, so we are anticipating a very significant increase in caseload. My guess is most of those drug possession offenses would not be appropriate for a referral to hearings, but instead would be reviewed for filing, would be filed, and then hopefully if there's diversion and treatment programs, we could send the defendants through those types of programs.
With also having worked under realignment for a while, have you made some assessment of how this will impact people actually getting and serving time in county jail?
Well, I think it's too early to tell because these arrestees on this group of Prop 47 eligible offenses can be cited and released if it's in compliance with the penal code section. There's a feeling that there will be less people in custody. There's no need for a preliminary hearing, et cetera. So it may eventually free up jail bed space for other misdemeanors.
So you're speculating that the new misdemeanors will be able to or they will not be held while pending trial?
Since they're considered straight misdemeanors, they're eligible to be cited and released.
It's statutorily required to be cited and released except under certain circumstances.
Okay, so these are the drug cases and also the thefts and things of that nature?
Correct.
Okay. And so when you look at this down the road, is this like the first entree of asking for additional resources? Is there a secondary request, or do you believe this is going to be the full complement of resources?
Council member, to be very frank with you, we, as Mary Claire said, this is just the beginning of our analysis of this. We are hopeful that this will be the last request. Can't guarantee that. What we are going to do, starting immediately, is track the numbers as close as we can and report back to the council on a quarterly basis as to where we are. But we're hopeful that we will be able to maintain the caseload with this request.
Okay. And are we having any assistance from the DA's office as to their less workload and how they might support you? Because they do misdemeanors and outlying areas. I'm just wondering if they are taking over any of this workload.
They have been cooperating with us for the last month since the election, and through February 1st, they have maintained or retained the misdemeanors that would have come to us the day after the election, and they've done that under an agreement with our office and through authority we delegated to them as we're allowed to under the law. They have their own workload issue, at least for some period of time, because part of Prop 47 requires them to review, and I don't know a number, but it's thousands and thousands of petitions of people who are in jail under the felony conviction and now are eligible for misdemeanor sentencing, which would, obviously greatly lighten their sentence. So their workload will increase for some period of time, and they do not have the resources to continue doing the misdemeanors because of that.
My final question, I'm just wondering, have you looked within your own office and for lack of a better term, looked at your own Prop 47 and say, can resources be moved to these new misdemeanors versus what you're currently doing?
We have looked at that to some extent. We also will, I would say that even with this influx of resources, the caseloads of our current prosecutors are going to go up somewhat significantly. So we are maximizing as much as we can, but we really don't believe we can maximize any further.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No more speakers on the queue. Let us prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, if you'd open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, let's, Mr. Clerk, should we recess?
Mr. President, we still have item 30.
I think we do have some cards on 35.
And Mr. President, item 35 is an item for which a public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
So without objection, that item is before this body. So if we could get Mr. Walsh, Mr. Sachs, and Mr. Herman. Mr. Krikorian, before we start.
President. While Mr. Walsh is getting ready, can I ask, please, that number 33 and 34 be sent forthwith, please?
Without objection.
.org. This concerns the Cheyenne Desert Train versus City of Los Angeles case. This concerns whether a citizen or a non-citizen has the right to move in on the sidewalk in front of your house, put up furniture, and live there. That's what this is about. Now, suddenly, after 100 years of homelessness, you're now asking for the city attorney to give you the legal options available to protect residential neighborhoods from becoming campgrounds without criminalizing homelessness. Isn't this a little too late? Haven't you been wrestling with this subject for years and years and years? Now, as you know, we have an invisible iron curtain that goes down the middle of La Brea. On the east side, it's for minorities, and all the homeless can move and do any damn thing they want east of La Brea. Now, where on the other side, where my mother's racial group comes from, where the wealthy people are, you can't even stand on the sidewalk in front of a wealthy person's home without being harassed by the LAPD. So that's what's going on in the city, and there's no one who... And remember Margaret Mitchell, the homeless woman who got murdered for crossing from the east side of La Brea to the west side of La Brea by an Asian cop, and since the cop wasn't white, he got away with it because she violated the rule. Black people, stay east of La Brea where you belong. HollywoodHighlands.org. That's what they say.
All right, Mr. Is it Art, Mr. Sachs, and then followed by Mr. Herman?
Yes, thank you. Good. Oh, it's still morning. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Part of this item, it requests several agencies to assist the city attorney in this consideration of this motion. But the one that isn't listed here is HACLA, the Housing Authority of the City of LA. Now, I do recall when it was the authority that it was a payment in lieu of taxes had that part of its obligation in its bylaws, that it didn't have to pay taxes on its property. It was kind of like the DWP, where they make a transfer to the city in lieu of taxes. But it's not listed here anymore, and I'm pretty sure it was absorbed by the Housing and Community Investment Department. You can correct me, I don't care. I could be right, I could be wrong. But so, that being said, does the Housing and Community Investment Department have that property and is not paying taxes? Is it part of the pilot program, just like DWP? And it does mention here residential neighborhoods. So what about business neighborhoods? What about like a section on Spring Street over the 101 freeway, which became a de facto homeless encampment with people camping on both sides of the street? What have they moved to in residential areas where they have the businesses on the bottom floor of these new developments and residential area above it? Can they live because it's not strictly residential, will they be able to live in those areas?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs, and good to see you again. Mr. Herman.
As many of you may not understand, is that the civil rights of a population of persons, such as those known as the homelessness population in Los Angeles and throughout the state of California, has become the war upon Mr. Kokorian as he points his middle finger off his head to me.
Wait. Stay on this subject. No, stay on this subject, Mr. Herman.
Asking you again, Angelinos, should we not protect our homeless populations from the threat of this motion by Mr. Bonin and Mr. Wesson? For we all know that in Santa Monica, they have probably the largest group of homeless people there. But incidentally, near LA Live at 1800 Washington / Hope Street, there is no hope. For the same situation won't impact residential homes. It will also include businesses that are impacted by the homeless population who reside on their sidewalks. But who gives a damn about homeless people? They're just a different type of person who don't want to get a goddamn job, right? But that's not how I look at it. They are veterans, men and women and their children, and our citizens who have been deprived equality of life by the quality of life that all 14 members of these men and this one woman, Miss Martinez from the Valley, should provide compensation for homelessness to get off the goddamn street and into a home so that all of us can enjoy our access on the sidewalks and streets without the hindrance of this motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, sergeants, we're going to go into closed session. If you could please clear the chambers.
All right, Mr. Clerk, we're back in open session. Next step, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, we should first adjourn the special meeting and then return to the regular.
All right, let's adjourn the special meeting.
In other words, what I'm saying is...
Now we so ordered. Next item.
Yes, sir.
On public comment, a 1 minute public comment. Mr. Walsh, I got you right there.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. And I want you to know that, and I have it on my video, an LADWP worker throwing a cat and trying to kill a cat, throwing him off the gondola from the tree. You can go and check that. It's on the record. I'm telling you right now, as far as what's happening in the city of Los Angeles, you just spent, if we lose this case that they spent an hour talking about at at the earlier meeting, then anybody can live in their car and do any damn thing they want in their car. And remember, it won't happen west of La Brea. It'll only happen in your neighborhoods, because they'll get rid of them for any reason. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman.
The circumstances of just 1 minute, I came up with this Christmas song. To all of you, a Merry Christmas, without the big ears of our little elves, Krikorian and Englander, such dear big ears you all hear. Christmas
All right,
is
thank
a
you very
season
much.
to be...
Mr. Make your comment. We don't need your thing. Thank you very much.
LA and the economy. And once again, Angelinos, the big ears of this council that don't listen to you taxpayers are the result of low-paying jobs. And in top note, the feds have targeted LAUSD. Why? The connection with some of the members in council who had business involvement. So I suggest continue the probe and investigate.
Brian Barajas.
All right, there's a petition online that the U.S. and Europe must have the courage to reject geopolitics and collaborate with the BRICS. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The reason for this, China has welcomed the United States to join with the BRICS, which means development not just for your area, which I know there's a conference at the Union Station for high-speed rail until tomorrow. And I know that one of the possible investors is China. I know that the theory or whatever could be that we'll have rail by 2030. We could do it faster than that. And joining BRICS and preventing war with Russia and China, this is our mission. So join LaRouche PAC, sign the petition.
Arnold Sachs, not present. Henry Marine.
As you know, MOUs are government documents that show how much money others use for the benefit of Hecla and Kohler employees by direction and view of the Hecla Board and City Council. And according to Judge Mooney, if I can't convince the members of this council to account for these funds, nobody's got authority to make the members of this council account for these funds, neither the mayor, nor the controller, nor the city attorney. But we do know Jackie Lacey does have that authority to make you account for the money that you publicly sheltered in union bank accounts and Citibank accounts, as clearly shown in MOU-defined pay deductions. Because my check shows how much I paid subject to taxes. And I got to thank JFK for reminding us, ask not what public officials can do for us, well, until we can prove in black and white what we did.
Public comment is complete. Mr. Clerk, what's next?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered. Any announcements, members? No announcements. Any adjourning motions? We're all right. Oh, Mr. Announcement, Mr. Blumenfeld.
This Thursday, if you're in the West Valley, I'm having an open house in my district office at the Van Owen and Van Alden Municipal Building starting at 4:30. So if you're in the area, please come by and celebrate.
Thank you very much. Announcements? Adjourning motions. Please all rise. Thank you. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, just a couple of short months ago, we honored Bob Baker of the Bob Baker Marionette Theater that was founded in 1963, and he was in frail health then, and he has passed away. It is great sadness that I ask us to adjourn in his memory. An LA native, Bob Baker traveled the world with his famous marionette troupe. His work was featured in prominent films, ranging from Disney's Bedknobs and Broomsticks to Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind to the 1954 version of A Star is Born. He was said to have an archive of more than 3,000 puppets. His interest in puppetry was sparked at the age of 5 when he saw a puppet show at a downtown Los Angeles department store. Within a few years, he was studying the art and competing in local talent shows. Baker graduated from Hollywood High School and served in the Army Air Corps during World War II, when he worked at Lockheed Aircraft in Burbank. After his discharge, he worked for the George Pal Animation Studios. Amid labor unrest, he left Pal and began working his own line of marionettes. He created window displays for prominent retailers around the country, and he did the same for storefront windows on Disneyland's Main Street. In the early 1960s, Baker teamed with Alton Wood to launch the Marionette Theater in Echo Park. He worked as an advisor to Disney and other studios and was a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, as well as the Television Academy. Baker, who I mentioned, launched the theater, Bob Baker Marionette Theater in '63, offered puppet shows in what was billed as one of the world's oldest and longest running children's theater companies. In 2009, the theater's location on First Street in Mr. Cedillo's district was named a Los Angeles Historical Cultural Monument. Bob Baker lived in Koreatown. He passed away over the holiday at his home the Friday after Thanksgiving, November 28th, at the age of 90. He leaves a legacy of magic in the imagination of thousands of children and adults, including me, in Los Angeles, who have been blessed to witness his performances. May he rest in peace, Bob Baker.
Thank you very much. He was a beautiful man who contributed, and our own city clerk spoke of when she went as a kindergarten to it, and I remember that as well. Any other adjourning motions? I have one for Bobby Keys, a great saxophone player. You heard his work with the Rolling Stones for many, many years. He was very tight with the Stones on their band for 40 years. He originally played with Buddy Holly and the Crickets, was one of the Crickets. You know how they got their name, the Crickets, Mr. Dion? Because Buddy Holly was West Texas guy, and in the garage that they played, there were crickets in the wall. So that's how they got the Crickets. Much love by the people in the music business. Let's remember Bobby Keys, and especially when we hear Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones. May he rest in peace. This meeting is adjourned. Go serve the city well. Thank you very much, and a special thanks to our city clerks and staff in City Council.